Okay, I am going to do a full-on garden tour. We're about in the middle of June, almost a month in probably. So I'm going to show you what the garden looks like now, and then show you in another couple weeks and see the difference and see what's growing and how it's growing, all of that fun stuff. So these two, such a nice shadow. These two pots are sweet potatoes. You can see them coming up right here. That's a weed. This is a sweet potato here. That's a weed. That is not, I don't think. And then we have basil here. All along here we have basil in every one of these holes. Basil, and then there's dill down there, and then sage a little bit farther down. I did plant sunflowers here on the edge. Some of this is weeds, but the sunflowers start somewhere down here. This is asparagus that was in the garden when we bought our property. So then this is where we have the sunflowers around this spot here. And then in here I have celery. Let me move over here so you can see my shadow. So I have celery here. I have spinach. I have lettuce. More lettuce, sunflowers. And this is endive here. These couple green plants. And then this row, oh, there's another basil right here. It's growing good. I started all the basil by seed. Up here we have kale coming, and our little slow man, not sure how he ended up in the garden, but anyway. So this is our 2 rows of tomatoes all along here to the end, and then this whole row here to the end. I did this stringing method this year. That's something new. Typically I tell myself, oh yeah, I'm gonna cage and stake the tomatoes, and I never do because they get too big and it just never works for me. So I figured I'm gonna try this. So far it's working awesome, and I will likely do it every year from here on out. Let's see, in this row we have hot peppers. There are some weeds in between up to this mess right here. This is my son's sweet corn garden, and then some weeds beyond that too that have to get pulled. This row here is my sweet peppers until about the end. There's one or a couple jalapeno plants there. Then we have eggplant here by these 4 stakes. This is weeds, and then empty right there. That's going to be more celery plants. And then eventually this area will probably be like a cold crop vegetable, or maybe some more beans, not sure. More kale here. Let's see, what do we have here? So here I planted, just to the stake, from like these weeds here to the stake, I planted artichokes. I don't think they ever came up, and if they did, I'm not sure where they would be in that mess. So then from here to that little wooden stake here, I have okra, which is this right here. This is okra. So I will weed in between those just like this. I typically do this like a couple times a week, and then once the okra plants get bigger, I will put some grass clippings or straw or something in between, so that way I'm not constantly weeding. And that's that. And then we have some collard greens here. You can see them coming up. They almost look like kale. This is my first year planting them, so I'm not sure what I will do with them, but up into about that rock right there, that is collards. And then I put, oh my goodness, what did I put here? Oh, green. I put green beans and purple beans, I believe, from this rock to there. And then, oh yeah, here, and then the green beans, they start here. So the green beans are there all the way down to that stake right there. So there's really no method to my madness, if you haven't been able to tell. This is not perfection. I just kind of go with the flow and throw things in. My plastic here is jumbling all up, and that's okay too. Dang, shadow. And then from here to the end, right there, I put kohlrabi just to try it, because I got a free packet of seeds. So I wanted going to try it. Then over here, this row is completely empty. I'm sorry about my shadow. This whole row is completely empty. This is all weeds that has to go. So that will be gone soon. And I'm not sure what I'm going to put there. Since I did the few raised boxes this year, I do have some more room in my garden, more so than usual. And we did expand it last year, so that's helpful too. But it's nice because typically I go and I buy a whole bunch of plants and I fill up the garden, and then I'm like, oh shit, now I have no room for like other stuff. But full transparency here, weeds and all. So I'm showing you guys everything and showing you the fact that I don't always have a plan. I'm not someone that plans my garden out on paper and writes down everything that I'm gonna plant and where I'm gonna plant it and puts it in rows. I just kind of go with the flow. That's how I work best. That's kind of just how I have always been. I'm not a real big planner when it comes to things like that, but it always works for me, so I'm not mad about it. And then starting down yonder, we have potatoes. So this is the first potato plant here. I put 72 or 76 potato slips in. So from here all the way down, these are all potatoes, all the way down to the other end of the fence. So this whole row is red potatoes. And then here we have our yellow squash and our zucchini. So there are weeds, in between, but we have them here, this whole row. You can see it like right there's one, and there's one, this whole row, and they're all kind of like mixed up too. So, and then we have beans started here. God, okay, so then beans started here. I did dragon tongue beans, and then I did some yellow beans and some purple beans also. These are the purple ones. You can tell by like, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the stem has like just a hint of purple on there. So that's how I can always tell. And then the blossoms are purple too. So here's one, just starting. We're getting a little ate up. I'll have to lime tonight. And then my yellow beans, they were a cheaper seed, and their germination rate were just terrible. There's only like a couple here, and they're getting eaten alive. So I'm not sure what that was all about. But I have broccoli up to here. And then this strip here at the top of the garden, we planted grass because that's where all of our fruit trees are. So those we planted last year. And then here we have Swiss chard, a few plants of those. We have broccoli here in the middle on this whole row, because broccoli is kind of like a once and done type of plant. So you get one nice big head of broccoli off of it, and then you pick that, and then sometimes you get other little shoots off of it, in my opinion, because I want it for food storage. I want it to freeze. We go through a lot of broccoli and vegetables throughout the winter. So I will likely pull them out as soon as I get the big head of broccoli that I want and put new ones in. So that way I can get 2 harvests. And sometimes you'll lose a couple if the bugs get too bad because I don't spray anything. You will get like the broccoli worms that look just like the broccoli, and they're creepy and kind of disgusting. But if you soak them in salt water, usually they come out and you can, clean the broccoli. But once in a while you will have a head or two that are just really like infested with them, and then they end up in the trash. But I will usually pull them out after the first big harvest, plant another set because they're a cold crop vegetable, and then get a second harvest out of the same area, the same space in the garden. So I have some more broccoli here. There's some cabbage and there is some cauliflower. It's all kind of mixed in. I put it all in one row just because. I have some red cabbage here, which obviously is the only one I can tell the difference because it's purple. Like I said, we're not like fancy and we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for food. We keep the weeds down. I will weed this like the rest of it later today and over the weekend. And we've had a whole lot of rain. Like every day it seems to rain, even just a little bit, which is great. And that means I don't have to water the garden, but also means that the weeds grow. So it's kind of like, pros and cons to both. More broccoli over here, back in here. This is my other son's grown-up little garden with this fence. He put about a half a packet of sweet corn in the same spot. So it's all coming in right there. This is my cucumber trellis. Let's see if you can see like the whole thing. It's gigantic. But it serves its purpose. It's like ready to fall over. If it fell over, it would probably be done for, but I love it, and my husband hates it. He thinks it's the ugliest thing, but I cannot get rid of it because it serves the best purpose. So instead of having all of these cucumbers all over the ground, getting weeded up like that, they are going to climb this. So in the beginning, you will like kind of help them, train them, and then you'll see these little legs here. They will twine around, and they will just vine right up, and they will grow straight up this whole thing instead of all over the ground. So those are here. So this one's already kind of like twining up in there. I will go along here and help all of them. And then I planted some, I think I have more to plant actually, if they didn't die on me. Oh yeah, right here, they don't look too good. But I planted some on the opposite side of the fence too. If I can find one, I don't know. So that way they can climb up both sides of the fence. But at any rate, this is another sweet potato bin. And then over here, these are my raised beds. So we'll start over here at this one. I had one last year, but it was in a different spot. It wasn't actually up in the garden. So I wanted it up here, and I had Sean make me 2 more raised beds because my goal was to have root vegetables in them, only because they get swallowed up in the garden and they get swallowed up in the weeds, and as you're weeding between them, the beets come out with them, the carrots come out with them, the onions come out with the weeds, and then you end up with barely a harvest. So this is all beets right here. As you can see, there's not many weeds in them, which was the goal from day one. There's a couple, like this one, and these, but the beets get nice and big leaves on them, so it kind of shades the rest of the dirt in between the rows so the weeds don't get a chance to get choked out, or to choke out the and this, I showed this on my Instagram a while back. This was just like an old piece of not chicken wire, but fencing that we had, so I kind of just put it there for now, real quick, real easy, nothing fancy, to put my peas on. And my peas just twined right on there, and they're just being held up by this. And look, today we might be picking peas. Peas thrive in the cold. They don't like the heat. They don't do well in the heat, so I put them on both sides here and underneath here. Here's another example right here, how it like twines around and holds itself up so it's upright. And anything that you can trellis or get upright, you'll notice the sun literally hits every single one of those plants, the whole length of the plant, from down here to all the way up top. The sun hits that. That means the plant is healthier, it's going to yield better, it keeps it off the ground, so none of these are like laying on the ground getting kind of funny, or the bugs on them, or rotting. And then under here we have beets. So we have beets under there also. And then this one is all of my onions. I did white and I did red or purple, however you call it. I have lettuce here, which I've harvested 3 times and it's still coming back. Some people will pull off or pull out the whole head of lettuce. You don't actually have to do that. You can just go like this, take out the outer leaves, take it inside for your lunch or dinner or whatever, and it will keep producing more lettuce. So it's not like a once and done crop. As long as we've had cooler nights, which is nice because lettuce is another one that doesn't like the summer heat. It will bolt and go to seed and kind of be useless when it gets super hot. These are peas that a little boy threw seeds in right in here. So I figured I'd just leave them go and see what happens. And they've got blossoms and they're on there. As you can tell, they're not being held up by anything, which, for example, this is like a cluster mess. If I wouldn't have had those, up on something, they would look the same exact way. And as you can tell, it's going to be harder to find the peas in that mess than it is to find those peas that are just hanging there very nicely, awaiting for me to pick. So these are the onions, and then I did go and throw some radishes in here. So that's what these big leaves are. They kind of look like weeds, but they're not. Well, this one is, but if you go down in here, you can actually see the radishes. These are a real you can see them. There they are. Those are really quick, between 25 to 30 days you have radishes, so they're so easy and quick to grow. I have never grown them before, but Sean loves them, and I was thinking of pickling them for him and for us to try them and see how we like them. So that's another new thing that I'm growing this year. Here we have our carrots. This looks like a mess, partly because it is, and partly just because they're growing so well, and I'm so freaking excited because my goal this year is, you can see those carrots down in there. So this is like one plant, and this is where you would pull. So you'd pull this straight up when it's time to harvest. My opinion on carrots is they seem to take forever, but I am hoping to be able to grow enough to can a whole bunch for our shelves for the winter time. I am sort of on a goal of self-sufficiency, and the less junk I have to buy from the grocery store, the happier I will be. There's nothing worse than having to go to the store for like one little thing just because you don't have enough for dinner. So, oh, I forgot this trellis here. This is some straw we brought over yesterday that will go in between some of the plants. This trellis here, it's double-sided. So over here we have spaghetti squash. I'm hoping to grow a bunch of that to store for the winter, because winter squash you can put on a shelf in your basement and it will store for quite a while. I still have a couple, I think they're butternut squash down there that I got last fall. I didn't grow myself, but I got at a local farm, and there's still a couple down there that are in good shape. Once in a while you'll get one that's, you know, rotted or old or should have been used already, but for the most part they store really well. These, again, weeds. But we have cantaloupe right here, and another cantaloupe right here. And those are weeds. I did have some ground cherries over here, but I think that they got a little swallowed up in the weeds. And then we have a watermelon somewhere. Where's my watermelon? Watermelons are tricky too. We try them every year just because the kids love them, but they don't always love us in the garden, which is fine. But we always like to try. The kids like to plant them. They start them by seed, so that's fun. But this is my garden tour, June 2021. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely, if you're watching this, I'm going to put it on YouTube. So if you're watching it on YouTube, definitely subscribe and hit the bell so you get alerts for new videos that are coming up. This is the reality. This isn't a picture perfect garden. This isn't a picture perfect anything. There's weeds everywhere, and that's just how it is. And I hope that makes someone else feel a little bit better that my garden's not perfect, but it's going to give us food, and it's going to last us all winter, and it's going to be awesome. So have a good day.